In today's video, I'm going to be making some modular building packs inside of Blender. So I'm going to walk you through my kind of process and how I would approach making something that I barely know how to make. So let's just hop straight in. Okay, so the first thing I would start with is obviously getting some reference. So this was what I first went to do, is went and actually found a street inside of San Francisco. And reason I did this, so I can see how a regular street would be put together. I kind of just went around, found a random spot. So having something like this just give me some good reference of what I would kind of be trying to put together. So this tab is going to go onto my second monitor. I also kind of pulled up some other game asset packs that you can like find online, just to kind of see how they would structure a full pack like that. Okay, cool. So as you can see, my screencast keys are on in the left over here. So if I click anything, you can see what I click. And let's just start straight out with trying to model that building. Okay. So the first one is pretty simple. And actually, let me just take a screenshot and chuck it in a PureF. So here is a big like PureF pack that I have currently building for a post-apocalyptic asset pack, basically working on. So let's take that. That's basically the image we're going to be working with for now. So I can actually put this over here and you guys can see it as we work. Okay, cool. So obviously you can see this is kind of a repeating pattern. I believe it has kind of the base one, and then up from there, you'd have like the little trim at the bottom. That'll be like there. This part can repeat as many times as you want. And then we have a top bit. So let's worry obviously about the main bit, and let's see what is going on here. So this is going to be using a few arrays. So let's just go add an array modifier to the cube, because why not use the cube every so often? So I'm just going to scale this down on the x-axis, and then this is going to be, ideally we can probably also fit this into some sort of like size that we can repeat, so we can kind of stitch stuff together, or we just do it this way. So here, I'm just going to take this, go offset, so we have a constant offset, so we can just scale whatever we want as we go along. Doesn't like scale up and down as you change. Let me scale this down on the y-axis to something like this. Okay. And there we go. So that's a decent start. Now, you could also be using like solidify or something for that bit over here, but let's just start blocking this out. So in theory, we can actually just use one array modifier and then just repeat or just add everything in here. So see, if I take this, I can go Shift-D, duplicate, RY90, and then you can see now we can drag this around, scale it down, and then you see it repeats the same way. Okay, now whenever I'm working, I usually have my vertex snapping on, because then I can take stuff like this, go GX, hold control. Same thing, I can take a GZ, hold control, and then snap it. So now it's directly on top like that. And because of that, then I can see how tall I need to make this. And then I can snap it directly to this edge over here. Ah, interesting. You can't snap to the other bit. But we do just pull it to roughly there. And we can line it up at some point. Okay. So there. And then we can take this, GY, just pull it out a little bit. And then if we want, we can also test it out with another array modifier, and then offset, drag it up on the Z axis like this. We can also actually, let's just set it to relative, and then that will allow us to just push it up however we want. So based off that, I think heart is pretty good. And what I want to do now is have this little like bottom bit, because I think it goes out a bit further. So let's drag it down to there, and then we can just take this and go extrude, scale, Shift Z. Okay, and once I've done that, I'll see that now. Oh, interesting. I thought I had a like my scale not set correctly, but what I think it might be is we can just use Alt S instead of scale, and you see now that gives us an even transform. And I think we also have this over here, which gives us actually proper transform. So there. Okay, that looks cool. And then off of that, you can see that now we need to pull this further out. Okay, and then we could possibly have the same thing on the top. So let's go to drag. So Control R, add edge loop, and then you can just actually just drag it up to the point where we want. And then you can see it also has some sort of decorative piece. So extrude and then Alt S to just add a little bit extra on there. Okay. I didn't want to have it like the same, so I just kind of changed it to whatever I want. All right. Okay. So one thing with this is that this is not going to tile very well, mainly just because like currently we're just setting it with an offset. So it works well in Blender, but it's not going to work as well for Asset Pack. So at the end, we can probably set this so that it works a bit more repeating where each edge will kind of stick together properly. But yeah, let's continue with here. So in edit mode, I'm going to go Shift A, add a cube. So you see, I can just kind of move it around, get this middle piece. So I'm going to go G, Y, maybe pull it in, and then take this, and we can just go select this edge or the face over here, and then just look in this kind of corner, G, X. So that's going side to side like there. G, X, hold, G, X, hold Control, and you see, so it's now snapped directly to that face. And then let's just go G, X, and drag it to this one. So there should be roughly in the right position. Scale and Z, make it a little bit thicker. And then from here, you can see we have quite a few like insets, extrudes, so on and so on. So let's add a couple edge loops. Let's kind of go like there. Actually, let's just push this in like that. And then we can add however many edge loops we want. So let me just look. I think the main part is like this big dip. And then probably like one like this. I'm just going to go bevel it just so I can get that little edge over here. Okay, so let me grab all of these and extrude. Okay, and then this one, extrude again. Cool. And if I want, I could also make it like slightly tilted just by doing something like that. Okay, and then from here, I was just going to extrude this one out by itself. Maybe do the same thing with this bottom one, just push it back a little bit. Okay, so nice little interesting detail. Like that. And you see, not very complex model to get that detail. Okay, similar thing, like here, we can add an edge loop in the middle and then use the bevel, so Control B, so we can get a gap like that. And then just grab, actually, let's wait to do that afterwards, because we actually have a few more insets that we need to do. So let's go add like 3 lines like this, and then do the same thing, Control B to bevel. Okay, something like that. And then we can grab all of these faces, and then grab these ones as well that we also want to bring in. And then we can go extrude, Alt S. Cool. Like that. And then if we want these to go even further in, then you could take these and extrude backwards as well. Cool. That's looking pretty nice. By the way, if you enjoy this video, you may also enjoy my courses or any of my free stuff up on my Gumroad. You can go check it. First link in the description. Let's go back to the video. Okay, but let's actually get the windows in here. So we can go add a cube. Let's just get this working. Well, let's see, because obviously we need to have it go from there. So GX, and then grab other side, GX to there. And the reason I want to do this is because I can like obviously just to like merge it into the same object, but now I'll be able to add 2 edge loops and do that. Okay, so again, use my snapping to get the right size, and then because of that, I can now go Control R, add my edge loops, and then I can take these 2, Control B to bevel, like that, and then grab these 2, well, this one, Control B, like that, and then if we want to do all of them at the same time, we can grab all these faces, and then just go. Well, actually, I think to be fair, we'll probably just go Control I, and then X faces. So now we just have these ones. So now we can push it back to wherever we want to have them and add a solidify modifier like this. Or we can go, just take this, push it back, because I think I might want to do some extra detail. So I'm going to take this, extrude out, and then just grab the vertical ones like this. And then let's try this out. If we go I for inset, okay, I was going to try to use B for boundary, but I think because let's actually delete these top and bottom faces. So in vertex selection, I'm just going to select the top, bottom, X faces. And then with that, I can grab these again and go I. And if I click B, then you'll see that at the top, it sticks to it like this. Okay. So there, push it to whatever I want and then extrude out. Okay. So see, nice tiny little detail. And then once we've done that, we can go select this. I'm just going to go select this back face, Shift S, and curse to selected. The reason I do that is because now it's exactly in the center of this bit, and I can add a plane, and it'll be at the right position. RX 90, and now we have the size for our glass. Okay, and then if you want, we can take this, Shift D, duplicate, and pull it down. Only thing is, obviously, it will be a slightly different size compared to the top, just because we don't have any bar or anything like that. I think, actually, let me see. If we drag this down, it might actually work completely fine. So just go GZ to the top of that. And if we go take these out, yeah, you can see, so they don't go as far down. But to be fair, I think it might be nice to go have a little bit of like a base. So let's pull these up. And then over here, we can basically just go take, maybe we can just duplicate this face from here, Shift D, and pull it down to the height we want. So maybe something like this. And we can go extrude down, extrude Z, and then Control to snap. There we go. And because I have a matte cap on instead of like a normal studio light or anything like that, I can see that the shading is weird. So that's why, because if I was on a normal one, usually everything would look fine. The only way you could tell that these faces are like facing the wrong way, which is very important for making game assets. But I could just open here, go face orientation, and you see everything goes red. Basically, if you are making an asset like this, then inside of the game engine, it will do something called backface culling, which is, you can see it goes see-through for the faces that are backwards. Okay. So be very careful when you're doing that, but obviously you could just kind of fix it when you get to your game engine. Okay. So obviously a few different bugs that we can see is obviously like here, it is clipping, or you can see through it and stuff like that. So we would have to clean all of this up, but let's take all of these, make sure we have no modifiers, and then just take it, Control J to join. Okay, and then the main issue is just this little edge over here. So we could actually just take this. So let me go 3, go face select, L just to select this one, Shift H, just so I can grab this edge over here. So Shift H hides everything else. Now if I go Alt H, actually let me just take the opposite of selection. So now we just don't have that deselected, Alt H, and now everything but that's selected. So I can go Control I again, and then just go GX and push it into there. Okay, and then if you want, we could also just take it. Actually, we could have just selected like this instead of. Actually, all these vertices would have been there, so fine. GX, and then we just got to push it all the way to there. Okay, cool. That's actually one thing I'm finding very annoying right now. Let's actually see if this works better inside of. So you see here, if I grab these vertices, I can't snap to anything on the other side. But let's try and see. Yeah, you see. So if I change this into working inside of the edit mode, then it doesn't work, which is kind of weird and a bit annoying to work with. Because actually, yeah, we go realize instances, because I think it's geometry nodes. If we don't turn that on, then it does help and allows you to actually snap to it. So that's a pretty useful bit of information if you work with the array modifier more often. I don't think I've actually worked with it properly since the new geometry nodes came out. So yeah, but you can see pretty simple, but looks pretty cool for not a huge amount of work. And obviously, like, there's a few things we might have missed, like over here has some extra details. So just add a couple edge loops, do like that. Okay, and then take this, extrude it out. And I think it seems to have some sort of like little indent, so we could just take one edge loop, G, Y, and do like that. Okay, cool. And yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And then if I wanted, I'm just going to go into like the material preview. We can see what it looks like. We can also go into Eevee, turn on ray tracing. And as you can see, that actually looks pretty cool. And that doesn't even have any materials, anything like that. Okay, I'll say the one thing that I don't like is these kind of pieces look a bit too thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into face view, like face select, and select all of these faces. Make sure not to select any vertical ones for anything else, like this. Okay. And then I'm going to change my pivot from this, which is median point. And you see if I go scale Z, they all go into each other like that. I'm going to change it to individual origins. And you see now if I scale, it changes each of them individually like that. So they don't scale into each other. They each scale because they're not joined together. So if I'd selected in vertex select like this, you'll see they still scale together because they're all joined. But because I'm in face view, these faces are not selected. So now each of these can be scaled individually. And I think that looks a lot better. Yeah, cool. Now, for texturing something like this, what I've set up recently, and I'll probably do a more in-depth video on how to set up and make something like this. But basically, I'm going to pull this over and I'm going to go add in a UV editor over here. Okay. Now, firstly, actually, let me save our file. Cool. So I've got a like asset pack file that I'm starting. So building, I think these are like called facade 1. Or I'll probably put them all in the same file, but whatever. Basically, what I can do is open up an image, and I have this palette.png image. Now, this is something that vaguely is based on the stuff that Infezia does, and here's a lot like better, like more developed version of this, where basically over here it has a 5x5 grid, and each of them has I think 10x10 with different values, different hue, different saturation. Obviously, each one's a different hue, and then left to right is the saturation. So as you can see, each one's fading, and then top to bottom is adding black into it. This was a Python script that I used AI to make for me, just because I don't really know how to code Python that well, and like file saving and all of that stuff. But yeah, so basically, very simple thing just to generate this, because I had no idea how to do it in something like Photoshop. All would have just been a bunch of manual work, and I just needed some sort of grid. And for some reason, there's nothing online about making something like this. But essentially, what you can do is if you select your object, go to your material, and we go change our texture to image, open, or actually it should be in our file already. So like drop it down, palette. Okay. So if I go to material preview, obviously looks quite bad right now. Why? Because it's currently taking over the entire thing. So firstly, one thing you want to do is because each pixel is a separate color, it's probably going to blend slightly between these. So you got to change linear to closest. And then from here, I'm just going to take everything and scale it way down. Okay. So I'm just going to bring it over to like an orange one like that. And you see now everything is gray except for this back wall for some reason, even though it's on the same piece. That makes sense. It's not on the same material because we have 2 material slots. Okay, let me get rid of those 2 material slots. And now you see we have a good setup like this. Okay, already looking cool. Now we have a basic color, but let's actually change it so it matches with what we actually want. So firstly, I'm going to grab the different sections that I want. So maybe these 3. So the wall, like the pillar, and then the bottom and the top. Okay. So in the reference, it's kind of like a very like light peach kind of color. This is actually pretty close. So if I select everything, also if you don't have any decent UVs, every model as you make should have at least something. But if you also want, you can select everything and go like U and a cube projection, and you see it just kind of gives you a basic view of it. But again, so let me just take everything, scale down to basically a basic thing, and then I'm using L to select these bits, and then to select everything on the left side, and you see, so currently you have 2 kind of versions. One of them has this back and forth, which means that everything will be in your UV editor and your selection is linked. So if I press A over here, both of them will get linked, but you can also change it so you have like your selection over here, and it's not linked. Only what you select shows up in the UV editor. But yeah, so you see, I'm basically going to drag it over here to something like only the first saturation level, and then you can kind of check what it's going to look like for each one. I think that's a little bit better, the yellow one, and you can change the brightness by going up and down, and you can just go GY to do that, and then GX will change how saturated it is. So saturation is left to right, brightness is up and down. Yeah, so pretty cool way of doing stuff. And obviously, if you want, stuff could be like different levels. Also, if you want to like exaggerate these indents, so you could just take it like this, just do there, and then zoom in 1, 2, and 3. So take these, and then we can just go drag it down 1 like that. But obviously, we get rid of these going around. So we select all of this and then just deselect this middle bit. Okay, and then we can go back up because that's where we went down 1. And you see this now just a little bit of a face shadow. So if I go to like flat shading with texture, you see, so now it has a built-in shadow slightly. Okay, and then for here, I think this one is supposed to be some sort of like similar color. I think this has been stuck here for some reason. Cool. So L, select this, and then we can go to A, select everything, and then pull it over. Maybe you can do something like that. So a lot darker, but still on the same kind of plane of color. Or we could go very different and do something like in a different shade, like a blue or something to contrast. But yeah, you know, whatever you want. So here, grab these, pull them over to, should be around here. You kind of just mess around and see what color you're going to pick. And I think in this case, it would help if we actually do the glass first. So what we can do here is just go for a very light blue color. Okay. And in this case, we could also do something similar where we basically go, this is going to be the rough version. And then we can add a new one, new, and we go shiny. And then do the same thing. So image, open up the image palette, change this to closest. And then over here in the roughness, drop it all the way down. And then we can assign this to the window. And you'll see now these are shiny pieces like this. We could also go, let's select these again. We can go maybe like less saturated. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, so obviously different ways of making the glass. You could also do it where you actually model physical kind of room stuff. But yeah, there we go. We have a pretty good start on making something decent. Okay, so let's turn off all these array modifiers and see what we are left with. So in this case, what we could do is basically take this, let's just check with one array or two, there we go. So obviously all of this needs to match up, but what we can do is take everything and line it up directly with like this point, and then basically copy and paste this section over here, that's over on the side, and push it over to here as well. So to do that, we would go, let me just get rid of my annotations. Like firstly, we can take this GX, drag it over, and you see now these are like overlapping. Okay, and then we do have realize this is off. So now we can actually snap. So I'm just going to grab all of this over here on the right, and this vertex over here, GX, drag it back to there. Okay, I guess we can just go SX0, change this to median point, SX0. So now everything will snap together properly like that. Okay, so you see now we have a gap. So now to fix this, we can go grab this face. We could actually just take half of this and then just push it all the way through like this. GX, drag it all the way through. Grab this. And then I was going to go GX, push it over just so I can actually select this edge to there. Same thing here, GX. Cool. And then this one, the last one, just take it through to there. And then same thing for here, GX, drag it through. Okay. And you can see now this actually merges or like repeats properly. And we don't have actually any issues. So in wireframe, we do have a slight line. And the reason is because in our viewport overlays, we have outline on. So if you turn it off, you won't actually want to see it properly. But yeah, you can see here, now we have a properly repeating piece. The only other cleanup we could do is obviously just making it properly, work properly. And also we can probably make some of these a bit more like a bit better. One thing I just noticed right here is this needs to just go further up. So let's just go select it, GZ, just push it back into the mesh. We could also just snap it directly to the mesh like that. Cool. And then let's just check this bottom one. I don't think we have the same issue. Yeah, that's fine. To make sure that we don't have any intersecting pieces. And also stuff like this can also be cleaned up. Firstly, we don't need this backside, so we just select this pillar. Go let's go Shift H. Shift H. Let me just turn this array off. There we go. So what we can do is delete all these faces back here. Okay. And then delete all of these as well. You can just select this face, select the top left, Control, and we can go Fill Region. That did not work. Cool. But I guess we can do this is just go to the side view, go C for circle select, and then just deselect everything that isn't on the back. Okay, cool. And then I can go X faces, and then we can go select all these vertices like this. Just check that we got everything selected right. So these two aren't. X faces. Cool. And then we can go select everything. S, Y, 0. Okay. So you see, nice, clean, like flat face. If you don't want to make this like a big gap, then obviously you can fill it in and do it properly. You can also just go like grid fill. What is going on here? Let me check. Okay, we have two faces over here. Delete these. X faces. Okay. I think something weird has happened with our inset. Let's actually just select this outer ring, X faces, L, X faces. We can select this and then fill it in. And then if we want, we can continue these vertices on. So actually just go add vertex, Control B to bevel, V for vertex. We go GX, GX, snap these across, J, J. Okay, cool. There, that's cleaned up properly now. And probably the same thing. Or actually, we can also just take this inner edge and then just G twice to slide it out. And we go M by distance. Okay. That's pretty good. And then this one, same thing. Just delete these faces. And then we can go slide it forward to GY to there. Okay. And then we can actually delete these faces because the reason we need to is because the it's going to be repeating. So these faces are going to be touching each other the whole time. And we're not designing this to be able to like fit around a corner. Okay. So there. And then I guess we'll do the same thing over here. All of these faces should in theory be deleted like this because they are the ones that are going to be touching each other on either side. Like this. Cool. Yeah, so only everything that's like touching this far side, and obviously same thing on the other side. So there, same thing, X faces, and let's just go pull this back to the same point as this, just because there's no need to, or like we want it just, if we're going to be leaving it like this, then at least it's all consistent. Okay, and then same thing for this. We can also go take these back faces over here and delete these. So there, cool. And then I'm just going to, probably better if we just go, we did it before I deleted them, just to select it a little bit easier. So select here, cool. And we can go, just pull them back a little bit, just since the window is going to be going through. So go Alt H, cool. And same thing, delete the sides like that. And like this. Okay, and you can see now we have a good repeating pattern. Now, if you want to have even more cleanup, you can obviously join parties together and all of that stuff. But we have this bit right here, which is fully modular piece that tiles seamlessly up and down and works well. Cool. Yeah, there we go. All right, hope you enjoyed. I know it's been a while since I actually uploaded a video. But yeah, so let me know if you have any questions or want anything else covered in a new topic. And I'll see you in the next video.